Have you ever stood in the kitchen holding a bunch of fresh basil in one hand and a tiny jar of dried basil in the other, wondering which one is actually going to make your food taste better? It's one of those everyday questions we've never really stopped to think about. We just grab whatever's there, toss it into the pan, and hope it makes us look like someone who knows what they're doing. But today we're finally breaking down that culinary mystery. Which actually tastes better? Fresh versus dried herbs? We're getting into the science, the flavor, the cooking tips, and even the weird little quirks of both. And by the end, you'll know exactly which one deserves a spot in your next dish. All of that right here, on History of Simple Things. Let's start with the part everyone cares about most, the flavor. When people compare fresh and dried herbs, it isn't really about texture or convenience. It's about what hits your taste buds harder. And the truth is, both bring something completely different to the table. Fresh herbs deliver this bright, lively scent that wakes up a dish instantly. Think of crushing a leaf of mint or rubbing basil between your fingers. That aroma has a freshness you can't mimic. It almost feels alive. These herbs haven't lost their essential oils yet, so the aroma explodes the moment you chop or bruise them. Dried herbs, on the other hand, don't have that instant brightness, but they do have concentrated flavor. When herbs are dried, most of their moisture evaporates, leaving the oils more intense and compact. You won't always smell it right away, but once dried oregano or rosemary warms up in a sauce or stew, the flavor becomes deeper, stronger, and more complex. If fresh herbs feel like shouting, "I'm here," dried herbs feel like whispering, "I've been here all along." Different personalities, not better or worse, just suited for different situations. Now, the flavor difference isn't just vibes. There's real science behind why these two forms taste so different. Fresh herbs are full of water, and inside that water are volatile aromatic compounds. These compounds are easily released when sliced or torn, giving herbs that quick, bright fragrance. But because they're so delicate, they fade fast when exposed to heat. That's why adding fresh herbs too early in cooking sometimes feels like throwing money directly into the fire. Dried herbs go through dehydration, which removes the water and concentrates certain flavor compounds. Some aromatics are lost in the drying process, especially the fresh grassy notes, but the deeper, earthier flavors remain, and those react well to heat. That's why dried herbs taste more pronounced the longer they simmer. The best example is oregano. Fresh oregano is soft, minty, almost floral. But dried oregano, that's pizza oregano. The unmistakable flavor you recognize from nearly every slice you've ever eaten. The drying process transforms the herb completely. So really, it's not about which is better. It's about which flavor profile you want. That said, there are moments when fresh herbs absolutely win. Fresh herbs shine in dishes that rely on aroma, brightness, and raw, crisp flavor. Think salads, garnishes, dips, or anything uncooked. Basil on a margarita pizza? It's added after baking for a reason. Heat destroys its delicate oils. Same goes for mint in a mojito. No one wants dried mint flakes floating around in their drink like fish food. Cilantro, parsley, dill, and chives also fall into this category. Their flavors are soft and leafy, and they disappear when dried. If you want that fresh green punch, something that tastes like it was picked 5 minutes ago, these herbs need to be used fresh. Fresh herbs also add texture. A sprinkle of chopped parsley or basil doesn't just add flavor, it brings color, movement, and a visual lift that dried herbs simply can't offer. It's the difference between something that looks alive and something that looks, well, cooked. So if you need fragrance, freshness, or aesthetics, fresh herbs take the crown. But while fresh herbs have their moments, dried herbs absolutely dominate when the dish needs slow, deep, long-lasting flavor. If you're cooking soups, stews, braises, marinades, roasted meats, or tomato-based sauces, dried herbs are often the better choice. Dried thyme and rosemary bloom beautifully in heat. They release their oils slowly, becoming more aromatic with time. Fresh rosemary is nice, but dried rosemary has that classic earthy, piney punch we associate with roasted chicken or potatoes. And let's talk about oregano again. You know what doesn't belong in a lasagna? Fresh oregano. It tastes almost like mint and totally changes the vibe. But dried oregano? That's comfort food gold. Dried herbs also shine in spice blends. Italian seasoning, herbs de Provence, za'atar, chili flakes, these aren't possible with fresh herbs. Drying gives herbs longevity and stability that fresh herbs can't provide. Plus, dried herbs are consistent. They taste the same year-round. Fresh herbs can vary depending on the season where they were grown and how long they sat in the grocery store under a sad misting machine. So for anything slow-cooked or bold, dried herbs are the real MVP. Here's the thing. Asking which tastes better is like asking whether pancakes are better than waffles. It depends on what you're in the mood for. Fresh herbs taste cleaner, brighter, and more fragrant. They're perfect for finishing touches and fresh dishes that need color and aroma. Dried herbs taste deeper, earthier, and more intense. They're ideal for slow-cooked meals, sauces, and anything that needs long-lasting flavor. Neither is universally better. They aren't competitors, they're teammates. The real magic happens when you use both intentionally. The better question isn't which tastes better, but which tastes better for this specific dish. Once you start thinking that way, both fresh and dried herbs become tools, not rivals. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.